So behind me, what you're looking at is a 500-year-old ship called the Flor De La Mar, which was carrying about $2.5 billion worth of treasures before it sank to the bottom of the ocean off the coast of Sumatra Island, Indonesia. Now, about 600 years ago, here in Malacca, Malaysia, the Malays were controlling this area up until the point that the Portuguese came here and took over. Now, when they took over, they actually took the treasures of the Sultan of Malay on this boat and was taking it to Portugal. And once it hit a crazy storm off the island of Sumatra is when it sank. But what happened to these treasures? Well, this is what we're going to go find out today. So let's go and explore this ship.
Oh, let's go for it. I've never been on a ship like this. This is like the closest I think I'll ever get to what a pirate ship almost looks like.
The ones that were made 500 years ago were all made out of wood. Now, although this is not the exact Flor De La Mar, it is actually just a replica because the other one is lying at the bottom of the ocean.
I'm gonna be Captain Jack Sparrow today.
Hi, how are you? I'm good, just for 2 people, please. Thank you.
Hey, let's go and explore this ship. Look at the scale of it. Like, can you imagine being on this so many years ago? I know our ships today are much bigger, but the sheer size of it for being built 500 years ago is just...
Now, although this ship is truly known for the treasures it carried, it was also Alfonso Albuquerque's ship, which was the main guy of the Portuguese people in the 1500s. He also sank with the ship, or didn't sink actually, but he was also on the ship while carrying the treasures from Malacca to Portugal. But they managed to save him. But the rest of the people, apparently about 400 people, died.
So he's actually the only person who might know where this treasure is.
Exactly. Oh, this is so cool. Although this is a replica, you can see with the old ships that they always bulged at the bottom and then they were like much narrower on top. Yeah, they seem to have a little bit of a deck. And here is actually a river right in Malacca. Now they've stopped it here, but before there's actually used to be a fishing village for the Malay people before the Portuguese people came, because down there the river continues through the town. And that was up until the point that the Portuguese people took it over and started using it as a docking point because they wanted Malacca, Malaysia due to its location on the spice route. They thought that because they had Goa, India, that having a spot here in Malaysia would also be a good resting spot to fill up with supplies and all that type of stuff during their spice route towards China.
Ahoy, matey!
This is not a very big deck at all. You can see this is kind of the front of the ship. And then here is the middle, and then there is probably where the captain was.
Let's go check upstairs before we go down to the bottom.
So I wonder where these treasures were lying. I don't know if they were lying here. They were probably lying at the bottom. Ooh. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I wish this was actually all still original.
Me too, that would be so cool. But now you're probably wondering what actually happened to this treasure. Well, truth is that apparently it's never been found. Or has it? I mean, the Indonesian, the Malay, and the Portuguese have claim to it, and it's 2.5 billion worth of treasure. And you're saying that it's never been found before? Who knows?
I think somebody has it.
I'm sure someone's found it.
Somebody has it. I mean, 500 years ago, and you're telling me they still haven't found this ship? I mean, with the technology that we have today in 2023, you have definitely found a ship like this with $2.5 billion worth of treasure. So who has it, Indonesia? Who has it, Malaysia? Who has it, Portuguese? Because then I've got some rights to it. I'm Portuguese. I want some of the treasures.
I'm wondering if they actually did find the treasures, if it would go into like a museum.
It probably would now. I think they would divide it between all lands or like all countries.
Yeah,
you know?
but would they actually be able to use the treasures, or would it go into a museum?
I actually have no idea.
I have no idea, but it's cool to imagine it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Dutch don't have control over it as well, because 130 years later worth of Portuguese reign, the Dutch came and controlled Malacca because their administrative office was in Jakarta, Indonesia. So they took control over here for another 150 years, where they kind of built a new administrative office or like a new area here in Malacca, which we're going to go explore later. And I mean, we're also going to go and explore the little bit of the fort that the Portuguese built during their 130 years worth of reign over here. And I think that's going to be pretty cool, as this like city, or Malacca, is kind of a World Heritage City because of the amount of history that is sitting here. And everybody wanted a piece of Malacca because why? It was an important spot on the route of like the spice route.
Correct.
You know, a really good location to have.
So today we just kind of want to understand the history that took place here and just imagine it for ourselves. But let's go and explore the bottom of the ship. I think we have to take off our shoes.
We probably do, hey.
Okay. They've basically turned the bottom of the ship into a replica of what it would look like all those years ago. So we'll kind of get an idea of how a ship looked back in the day.
This is crazy cool. We're literally inside like a replica of a 500-year-old ship. They used to carry $2.5 billion worth of treasure.
I definitely don't think they had these stairs. But look at that. There are our Portuguese sailors with the loot, the treasures.
I'm not entirely sure as to exactly what treasures the Portuguese had from the Sultan of Malacca.
Gold and jewels.
Probably.
That's what I imagine.
But if we look over here, I'm sure they have done enough research to understand. But I'm sure it was massive gold statues. I'm sure somebody has found all these treasures. I mean, if they knew exactly where it sank, I'm sure they knew exactly where to look in order to find it. You can see here the sheer sizes of some of the ships here. Like here's the British ship, because the British took over from the Dutch another 150 years later.
Here's a Dutch battleship.
Wow, you can see they completely look different to what the Portuguese looked. The Flor De La Mar, the ship that we're on right now, was actually known to be a terrible ship to sail because it was so big, and it was one of the biggest ships of its time, that because they were struggling with the ship to sail, it got a lot of damage and stuff like that, so they always had to fix it off the coast of Mozambique. And it's one of the reasons why the ship actually only had like a 2-year lifespan, but it lasted 10 years, and that's why it's so historic. But so why did they choose this ship to carry the treasures when it had so much problems? Because that's kind of why it sank in the storm. It was not very strong, it was too big and not so well designed. But I guess Alfonso de Albuquerque wanted his ship, and he wanted to carry his treasures on his ship to make sure that nobody else was going to grab of this loot, and that only he could touch it, or maybe see it, or just be close to it to keep a close eye.
I think maybe he put it on his ship because he actually just wanted to get it out of this land, just in case that the Malay people could actually overtake him again. Then at least he had the treasures. Look at the size of this gun.
Is that a gun?
Imagine holding that. That's like a massive barrel. It looks like it could be almost like a shotgun, the size of that thing.
Imagine keeping that thing on the side of your hip. That is huge. I mean, these are from 1915. It's a wooden binocular. So this is definitely not when Alfonso Albuquerque was on the ship. And he has other ones from 1940. It was lights.
Can you imagine that light guiding you through the darkest of seas? And it was probably lit by fire, like they had to light a lantern to actually make the light. They didn't have light bulbs then. It's really so cool to actually try and imagine yourself in that space, in that era. This looks to be old currency, the Malacca Sultan coinage from 14,000 to 1510.
So these are 500-year-old coins that they still managed to find. That is crazy. To think that we still kind of use the same type of style and method of coins today. So cool.
But let's go and explore the rest of Malacca. So right now we are walking to A Famosa, which is a fort built by the Portuguese here in order to defend themselves. But while I'm walking here in the street, you can see some of the remains that are right next to the road. And this was all built in the 1500s.
How crazy is this? We are actually looking at something that is 500 years old, the walls of the fort, right here in the city.
This is crazy.
Yeah, you can actually see how perfectly aligned it was, because this fort was actually built completely around the city. What we see today is the city that has completely expanded. But I mean, here's a bit of the walls, a huge blocks. You can see the size of the stone. Massive.
But what we want to see actually is just up the road here. I know I'm getting old when I don't like those things anymore.
Watch! We can already see as the sun is starting to set, there's a lot of action starting to happen around the town. It's getting super crazy now.
I can't even hear myself think when those things come past and blast their music. There's so many of these things riding around. It's almost like a bicycle rickshaw, if you could say that. It's basically got a bicycle on the side, and then they have like a place for the passengers to sit. But they're all decorated in cartoons. Like there's Hello Kitty and Spider-Man and Frozen, but then they're also blasting their music. Oh my goodness, it's so noisy. I thought the kids were enjoying it, but there were some adults there as well. Oh my god. Ah, there's a Batmobile. And Frozen with Elsa.
Definitely something unique to Malacca.
Wow.
So as we know now, Malacca was actually controlled by a lot of people, and between 1511 to 1641 it was controlled by the Portuguese, where they built a fort around here. But after then the Dutch actually took control because their administrative officers were in Jakarta, so they wanted to take control of this area so they had more dominance in the region. But what the Portuguese built in their 130 years of reign was the fort, and what's popular is the A Famosa. And here we are at the A Famosa.
Can you actually believe that this was built almost 500 years ago?
I cannot believe it.
And we get to look at it today.
And the cool thing about it is that we also get to touch something that was built 500 years ago.
Woohoo! This is like a gateway probably into the fort.
I think they've renovated it over time, but most of the stone actually still remains. And I think they're just using this in order to keep it all together. This is incredible.
This is so cool. So apparently here, somewhere on the site, used to stand this grand keep, which is like a fortified tower, and it was the tallest in its day. It was only 4 stories high, which is about 60 meters, but it gets its name A Famosa, which means the famous, because of that tower, and it was the tallest in its day until it was destroyed.
So looking at this thing, we're trying to understand maybe where the tower stood, as it doesn't look like it actually stood on top of this. This kind of looks like the entrance or the gate, and then maybe here on the side or right next to it is where the 60 centimeter or the 60 meter tall building stood. I mean, this is incredible. Just have a look at the entrance. It is beautiful. That's all done out of stone.
But can you believe that these are actually the oldest European architectural remains in South Asia and the Far East? Like, it's insane that we actually get to be here and witness it for ourselves. So we're walking up now to St. Paul's Church, which is actually at the top of St. Paul's Hill, hence the name St. Paul Church. But you can see here that from the top you actually have a nice view over Malacca. And that's probably exactly why they chose the site for the fort and for the church.
Look how huge it is. I mean, look at the size.
You are absolutely tiny compared to the size of those walls. I can't believe it's still standing today.
Now, I want to see if we can actually go in it. But if you look here, over 500 years, you can actually see a little bit of corrosion. Like this is starting to make holes completely, and it's starting to get smooth from all the elements.
But check out the size of these blocks that they used to actually construct this church.
You can see they used a lot of concrete. Now, I don't know if there has been some renovations done to this, but by the looks of it, I don't see anything at all. Can we get inside? How do we get inside?
How do you get inside?
Yes. Oh, that way. That way. Thank you. Oh my gosh, we can go inside.
That's pretty cool.
We're now going to get a look inside a 500-year-old church. Wow. Look at this.
I thought it was just a small little church on this side, but it's actually really big.
It's massive. Check out the size. Look at that.
It looks like they have tombstones inside here.
This is incredible. I think this has all been renovated on the inside. And they've also put some steel structures just to prevent it from collapsing. But my word. This is incredible.
Can you believe it? It says here, laid to rest here is Nicholas Balsey, who in his life was a free citizen, departed this life on 9 April 1678.
That is how big the tombstones were back then. That is huge, and this is obviously all carved out, completely out of stone. And if you look at the Portuguese flag, this symbol is inside the Portuguese flag. And here it is again. So I don't believe that these were probably part of Dutch people, but definitely part of the Portuguese. I think on this side here, we're actually getting the main church part. And I think we're able to enter it through this part over here.
Yep, here it is. This is the church. Wow. I can just imagine that the pews were all on the side, and that must have been the front of the church, and this is where people entered on this side.
That could have been actually, hey? I mean, this is incredible. The walls are still standing up. And I don't know if they had windows there. I highly doubt so, because I don't think glass was made back then. So they just had these ventilation holes just to keep it cool inside here. Now, this is incredibly cool.
It's beautiful.
Being in here and thinking that people used to sit here for mass 500 years ago, it's just wow.
It's crazy to think of. And to think it's one of the oldest European architectural remains in all of Southeast Asia and the Far East. Like, it's crazy to think of we can actually physically touch these old remains. Normally it would be cornered off and you wouldn't be able to explore such things, but here we are, walking in the middle of it.
The guy's got a parrot. Oh my gosh, there's a snake on his arm. I didn't even notice that.
I got such a fright when you walked past me and I saw the parrot.
So now that we're walking down from the church, we've come to an area where the walls look a little bit red. And because the Portuguese built the fort in order to defend this area, when the Dutch took over, they built the area that we're going to now in order to defend this area during their era of reign. And the reason that they built these buildings red is during that time of building there was a certain construction element that was red, and that's why around us you'll see a lot of the buildings will be red. Hi, do you have some water? How much is your water?
2 ringgit one.
2 ringgit one. Okay. Do you have a cold one? Yeah, 2 please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Whew, it's hot.
It's very hot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That's so hot. Phew.
Wow, it is hot in Malaysia.
Okay, let's carry on exploring. Oh my gosh, crossing the roads here in Malacca is bringing some memories of crossing the roads in India.
Yeah, geez, cars everywhere.
But while we're walking to the heart of Malacca, which is the Dutch area, we've actually come across the, what's it, the Bastion?
Bastion.
The Bastion, I think
Yeah.
I'm saying that right. But that's here. And then other than the gateway, this Bastion is actually the only, or the second artifact that remains here. Ooh, I'm getting tongue-tied, it's so hot.
Once they destroyed the fort, there was only 2 things that slightly remained, and that is what we saw. I think the church and this. I think 3 things actually
3
remained.
things.
Here you can actually see how thick the wall is. Stand there, sweetie. Like that is, yeah, that's as wide as, it's wider than your arms, eh?
Really?
Yeah, it's wider than your arms. That's crazy, right?
It is crazy.
So over here, they're actually stating that this is a Dutch layer. Dutch layer 15, Dutch layer 10, Dutch layer 5. There's a Dutch bastion, but on this one, it's actually stating a Portuguese wall. So I think this used to be the original fort of the Portuguese, and then when the Dutch came, they added this extension on. You'd think that they would not actually destroy the fort so they can use it for their own, like, strength, you know, and their own purposes. But to go and destroy it and then rebuild sections of it for themselves kind of feels like not logical at all, right?
I think it was destroyed by the British. I just love how all of these old ruins are just incorporated into this modern city now. Gives so much character and charm to it.
It's awesome to see that they didn't keep these parts segregated, and like Leanne said, kept it part of the city. So you get to explore these places while walking in the city instead of like just going to one area and that's all that it has. Because right around me is still the city. You can explore it and eat at restaurants and walk on the side of the roads and go on the rivers with a boat if you want to. It's so cool. So here we are in the Dutch area of Malacca that was built in the 1640s. Oh, no thank you, my man. These things are loud.
Okay.
You want to ride in one of those things?
No, I have a headache from all their noise already.
But yeah, you can see more of the color red. And they decided to keep this red just to signify like history and the heritage that is in here. I mean, you don't want to go paint these buildings. You want to keep the historicness that it has.
The closest I've come to this is like the pink city in India or like the blue city in Jodhpur. But now this is the red city of Malacca.
I mean, right here we're standing in front of a church. So this church here was actually two churches. The Dutch built it in order for it to be a Dutch Reformed church. And then they gave it to the British because they were scared that France was going to overtake here and the British army was a lot stronger. And then they gave it to them and then they turned this into an Anglican church.
But the Dutch originally built it to commemorate their century reign here in Malacca. And it still stands today.
This whole building here was actually the town hall when the Dutch were here.
And you know that it's the town hall because on the front of it, it says Stadhuis. And we speak Afrikaans in South Africa, which is pretty similar to the Dutch. And that means that it's this stad means town and huis means house. So that's why you see it as the town house.
And here we can see it. It says Stadhuis. A Dutch word. It's now a museum. We're not going to go look at the museum. We're just going to admire it from the outside because we're not allowed to film in here.
Oh, no way. The clock tower still works.
This is amazing.
So I'm not too sure on the history of this clock tower. Basically, all I know is that this clock tower was gifted to the town of Malacca by a third-generation Chinese philanthropist. And right next to this clock tower, with the church at the background, is also this beautiful fountain. It has something to do with the Queen's Jubilee, but again, I'm not too sure on all of the facts. Okay, well, now that we have explored the history of this town, this cute little red town, I think it's starting to get a little bit festive around here at night, so we're gonna go and see what this town has to offer.
Yeah, look how many people are busy coming in.
There's like a traffic jam going down that street, and everyone's just filling up on the sidewalks.
Yeah. There's some markets as well on the side of the road. It's starting to get really, really busy, so let's go and see what we can find to eat.
There we go. Well, it seems like pedestrian crossings work here. But what we're trying to find is cendol, which is a popular dessert here in Malaysia, and also one that is said to have here in Malacca, seeing as Malacca is the food haven of Malaysia.
What is cendol?
I don't really know. It's more like an icy pudding type thing. I don't know. It's not a pudding. It's like flavored ice, I think. We'll have to find out.
So it's like a Malaysian dessert, basically.
Yes. No, it is.
Oh, awesome. Right, so we're at the start of a food market where we can hopefully find some cendol, and I think we will find because it is a street food market. What's that?
It says House of Authentic Delicacies, so I'm sure we'd find one in here.
I mean, this is just the start of the street food market. Do you think they'll have?
I'm sure they will. I don't particularly want to go anywhere near the street food market because I don't want to ruin my experience for our next video. Oh, it smells like durian.
It smells like durian in here. Oh, no, I'll never have that again. Is there anything in here?
Juice, milk tea.
Don't they have a menu? It looks like a restaurant.
Oh, no, I don't
No, yeah, they do have cendol. But they have durian cendol. I'm not having a durian cendol.
Gula Malacca cendol. You want to try that one?
You know what? I'm in for it. We found cendol.
As long as it's got nothing to do with durian.
I thought that was going to be hard, but we literally just found this place that said authentic delicacies, and they have cendol. But we're not trying the durian one.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you?
Oh, fine.
Can we get a Gula Malacca cendol?
Sure.
Is it original cendol?
Yes.
Okay,
Got
alright.
one on here?
Just one. please.
Just one, please. How much is that? Okay, 8 ringgits. There you go. That's only costing us 8 ringgit. I don't know how this thing comes. You know how it comes? Is it a cup? Is it a bowl?
I have absolutely no idea. I've never actually seen it, so I have absolutely no idea what to expect.
We just got told to at least try Cendol here when in Malacca. So that's what we're doing. Trying Cendol in Malacca. Oh, is this our Cendol?
Yeah. Ah, thank you.
It's not durian Cendol, eh?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Before having it,
Must I stir it?
Mix it all together?
Okay, mix it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, here it is.
That's pretty cool.
Look how it comes. Let's go and eat it somewhere where it's less noisy. You can just see that it's starting to get really, really busy here.
I don't know if this is a warm or cold dish because it feels warm around the outside here, but then it's cold on the top.
Okay, well, they kind of gave it to us in like a...
It's a holder.
This looks like a durian holder, though. So that's why I was worried it was durian.
Better not have durian in it.
Okay, let's try this Cendol.
Okay, I'm opening it. Ooh, look at that.
That looks like a ice frosty type thing.
It almost looks like ice shavings. And he said we should mix it all together, so I don't know what's beneath it.
What's underneath it? Is that like celery sticks?
No, I don't think there's celery sticks.
What's that?
I think there's some beans inside here and some noodles or padang. I don't know what that is.
Mix it,
I'm mixing it. Okay. Let's give it a taste. I think I got everything inside there. That's actually pretty nice. It's got like a jelly and a bean and these ice shavings, but it's refreshing on a hot day like today.
Check the spoon that they gave us. It's kind of one of those things that you get with soy sauce in the Chinese shops where you buy sushi and stuff. Okay, let's get one. What is that little ball thing?
I have no idea. Hold on. Before you taste it, let me actually Google what a cendol is, because otherwise we're probably doing ourselves a disservice by not knowing
Yeah.
what we're actually eating. So according to the internet, or Wikipedia should I say, a cendol is an iced sweet dessert that contains droplets of green rice jelly, coconut milk, palm sugar syrup.
And sometimes is including of diced jackfruit. So what's this green stuff? Rice flour jelly. Okay, let me taste this. I've got myself some of that green rice jelly and then this weird bean. It's weird, it does remind me of the iced tang that we had in Singapore. It's refreshing on a hot summer's day, I'll give it that. Like, I'm feeling a lot cooler now already. But it's kind of nice without that little icy ball thingy that I saw. And just having the water and the ice, this is actually quite nice. On a refreshing day, I can understand why people here in Malaysia have this, because it's freaking hot.
I like that syrupy taste mixed with the ice shavings and like the milkiness.
That's refreshing.
It is refreshing, and it's not too sweet either. So ending our day off here in Malacca on a sweet note.
A good sweet note,
A
Cendol.
good one. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on the rest of our Malaysia adventures. After Malacca, we're going to be heading towards Kuala Lumpur, and then we're going to be going up to Georgetown.
So if you like this video, also give it a super thanks if you really can. We'd appreciate it, and we'll see you guys in the next video.